Hello. This recording is going to be lesson talking about physical and chemical changes. So according to the kinetic theory of matter, atoms are always moving. The more energy that is added to the atoms, the faster and further apart they will move. Physical changes. Matter is always changing form, size, shape, color, etc. There are two types of changes that matter undergoes. It can undergo a physical change or a chemical change. Physical changes is a change where the matter changes. The change of the matter doesn't change the identity of the substance. So, in other words, it can change in its state, solid, liquid, or gas. It can change in its size, its shape, or its mass, but it does not change the chemical makeup of that matter. Whatever you had at the beginning is what you have at the end. It is the same element or the same type of matter. So some examples of physical changes. You have grinding something up. You have dissolving something, sugar in water or salt in water. If something erodes or wears away. If you rip something or tear something. If it breaks. If you have a phase change, like I said earlier. If it melts, it freezes, it condenses, solid, liquid, gas. Those are all physical changes. Other examples of physical changes are a piece of paper torn in two. Doesn't matter which side of the paper you have, you still have the same paper. Sugar dissolved in water. You still have the sugar. You still have the tea or the water. Salt dissolved in water if you're making pasta. Or when you cut your nails or your hair. They are all physical changes. Any phase change is a physical change. So if it melts, freezes, evaporates, condenses, sublimation, or deposition, they are all phase changes that are caused by adding or taking away energy. Matter changes from one state to another when heat or energy is added or energy or heat is taken away. So you have down here at the bottom, you see a solid, and if it melts, it turns into a liquid, and then that evaporates and becomes a gas, and then the gas will condense, forming liquid. The liquid will freeze, forming the solid. Here's a very good diagram that you want to take a look at because you have your liquid water over here on the right. You have the solid water over here on the left, and you have the gas up here in the middle. So changing the state does not change the chemical makeup of the matter. You have what you started with, just in a different form. So if you started with ice, that's H2O. You melted it and got water, that's H2O. You heated it and got water vapor, guess what? That's H2O. Now, chemical change is the other type of change that matter can undergo. And a chemical change occurs when two or more substances are combined into entirely new substances with all new properties, and you can't change it back. Okay? So, some examples here. When metal rusts, you can't change that back to solid metal. If something is rotting, you can't change it back to being healthy. When milk spoils and it curdles, you can't just pull the curdles out and shake it up and have milk again. If you burnt something, if you cook something, if you digest something, or if something gets tarnished like this spoon, you can remove the tarnish, but the tarnish has affected the metal of that spoon. So signs of a chemical change, if you were in the lab and you were processing these chemical changes, if you see fizzing or bubbles, if you see the color change, if you feel heat given off, or if you see light given off, if there's an odor that you can smell, if you need heat to make the reaction happen, and if a new substance is formed. You might have a precipitate, which is a solid, or the gas bubbles could be your precipitate. So chemical change examples would be baking bread. You don't have the flour, the eggs, the milk, or the yeast anymore. The same with a cake, okay? Alka-Seltzer. If you drop Alka-Seltzer in water, it's all going to bubble up, and then you're not going to have just the Alka-Seltzer left. If you've ever mixed baking soda and vinegar, it makes great rocket fuel. As I said before, rust and tarnish are all chemical change examples.